Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jared here, but you can call me Plaz, and I am bringing you episode 3 of my PvP tips. Now, today we'll be covering Loadouts Part 1. So, basically, this is going to be a multiple part of the series. I'm going to break the series into a series where this will show you not how to make my loadout, or Ryan's loadout, or Matt's loadout. This will teach you how to make your own loadout. Now, today we'll be covering the base of every loadout, swords and armor. Now, make sure you choose your enchantments wisely. If you choose wrong, it could kill you. So we have an anvil here because we're not going to be using an enchantment table and books and that kind of stuff. We're going to be using, well, enchanted books, which you need to pop into an enchantment table to get. And if you're in a survival world, like, it might be useful just to put it in, but I warn you, armor and swords do not naturally get unbreaking, neither do bows. So, you're going to need to get unbreaking through books on that one. Now, swords, we'll start with those. Sharpness, smite, bane of arthropods, knockback, fire aspect, looting, and unbreaking if you use an anvil are all available for the sword. Now, these can come in a number of numbers if you pop them into an enchantment table, but it's a lot more efficient if you just use an anvil. It may take more levels, but it's worth levels. So then we have protection, fire protection, blast protection, projectile protection, unbreaking, and respiration, and as well aqua affinity on the helmet. Chest can get the same thing minus aqua affinity and respiration. Pants can get the same thing as the chest, and boots can get the same thing as the pants, except it has depth strider and feather falling on it. That's all the enchantments. I'm going to remove the ones that don't do anything. Alright, and I'm back, and I removed all the useless enchantments. Now, let's go over the ones that are useless. So, smite, bane of arthropods, and looting only affect fighting mobs, not actual players. So whereas they might be useful for PvE, PvP is not what you do with them. Then I removed all the blast protection and fire protection because, number one, we're going to be carrying fire resistance potions anyways, so we won't need fire protection. And number two, nobody uses TNT or creepers in PvP fights, at least not from what I've seen. And if you get caught by those, well, you're just insanely stupid. Now, for the swords, we have sharpness, unbreaking, knockback, and fire aspect left. Now, for the helmet, we have protection, projectile protection, unbreaking, respiration, thorns, and aqua affinity. For the chest piece and the leggings, we have protection, projectile protection, unbreaking, and thorns. Then we have the same thing for the boots, except with depth strider and feather falling. Now, in order to narrow these down a bit more, what we need to do is figure out what enchantments we actually want to use. Now, let's say I'm using this sword for let's say I'm using this loadout for a jungle battle. Now, in jungle battles, you want them to eat the fall damage, so you could either run two swords, one with knockback, one without, or you could run one of the two swords. I personally am not going to run knockback because I don't like my enemies going flying. So we'll pop knockback out of there. And then we have our three sword enchantments. Now we are carrying unbreaking for obvious reasons, because we don't want our swords to break over their head. This is a huge damage increase, sharpness 5. And then we have fire aspect 2, which will light them on fire, causing a huge fire on their screen, and if they're not carrying fire resistance, constant tick damage to their armor, which will, well, injure them to a high amount. Then we have protection and projectile protection for all of the armor. Now, most people are going to be like, well, if you removed blast protection and fire protection, why not projectile protection? Because projectile protection actually does something in PvP fights. If you're facing off against a sniper, it's a good idea to carry it on your helmet. And in jungle environments, a lot of people like to snipe, so I'll take protection out of there for that. And By the way, you cannot run two types of protection on one set of armor. So, protection and projectile protection, if I could, I would put them both on there. But sadly, I cannot. So, unbreaking is obvious. We don't want our armor breaking in the fight, or at least not that fast. Respiration and Aqua Affinity help underwater, but I'll get to Aqua Affinity after that. Now, Thorns. Every once in a while, when they hit you, it will do like 3 hearts of damage to them, or 1 heart, or whatever. Or it depends with armor and Thorns, and it varies. But Thorns tears apart your armor, and it's really just not worth it to carry it. Next comes Aqua Affinity, which helps you see underwater, and, well, I forgot its other use. Now, for the chest piece, running projectile protection is not really worth it because, well, arrows arc, and that's the reason why we put it on our helmet. So we'll just pop off projectile protection and move these two over. Thorns will take out on every gear piece. Now, of course, projectile protection not worth running on that one. And then for the boots, I talked about this in a previous episode, and there's almost no way arrows are going to hit you in the foot, so projectile protection is useless. Now, feather falling, since we're in a jungle environment, is a must, because you're going to be taking a lot of fall damage getting knocked off of trees and everything, especially by people who are using knockback swords. Death Strider, of course, is useful because it allows you to chase people who hop into the water. And then Unbreaking, you need on everything, so I'm going to clear out my inventory of this. And time set 0, toggle downfall. Now let's get into enchanting the sword. For organization's sake, I always put the top enchantments there first. And so, now on the last enchantment, you can name the sword. Now, I'm just gonna... what to name this one? I really have no idea. Since this is a jungle setup, I'm just gonna call it the Leaf Blade. I know it looks nothing like a leaf, but you know what I mean. See that 13.25 plus damage. Now if you use critical hits and things like that, it'll be very good. Do more damage than that. So we could just pop that on the bottom there. And then, so here's the helmet. Pop on the projectile protection. And so, armor you don't need to name because when you slay people with your sword, it shows the name of the sword. But you can name it if you'd like. Like what some people do is they put their name in it somewhere. Like I would do Plaz's helm or diamond helmet or helmet. But we don't need to name these. Next we go on to chest piece. I put it on wrong, but who cares? Bang. Oh, and also, I would suggest making a custom texture pack to use. I, of course, will be making one at some point, and maybe I'll do a tutorial on it. But I suggest using Faithful as a base because Faithful's HD textures are just amazing. And, well, and no, this is not a paid advertisement. It's just a better way to play. And if you have a bad computer and you're lagging a lot, what you could do is you could go to video settings and you can go to animations, and if you click all off, this will cause a huge increase in your game speed, so if we pull out our gear, we just pop it all on. We have our main attack and defense. Now, of course, our sword will still be doing a lot to enemies and everything. Still, if it's a critical hit, it's a one-shot. But basically, this is just the base of the loadout. Now, buildings, they just don't always have a foundation, and stop with that. They never do. The point of a loadout is to have the base and keep building onto it. Like adding a bow, potions, and definitely some food. Now, that'll be all for this episode. This has been Plaz, and I'm signing off.